we're going to watch the most important thing that I've heard in a long time at the board meeting, and that is the Randy Stedmen discussion of the ATU Trimet contract. So without further ado, let's start listening, and I'll cut in as necessary.
Randy Stedman, you're going to lead this discussion?
I think Neil's going to introduce.
Okay, Neil's going to introduce. All right.
So, Mr. Board President, members of the board, I'll do a very quick introduction, and then we'll turn to the experts on the matter, Randy Stedman and Claire Potter, who have been steadfast centers of our negotiating team.
What McFarland really means, instead of the word steadfast, you should mean complete assholes. Complete, steadfast assholes who have acted like assholes and complete jerks throughout the whole process here.
But I did want to just mention to you that I'm able to say something I've wanted to say since I took this job, which is I'm able to recommend to you a tentative agreement with ATU Local 757.
Yes, this is huge for him. I mean, I did a post about it on my blog. This is his crowning achievement. This for Neil is his big victory. One of the reasons why I recommend no is because I don't want to give him his big victory. It looks like he's going to get it, but it might not be the landslide I predicted.
And I do recommend your ratification of this. I think this, in sort of big picture, moves Trimet to a place of financial stability, which is great security for our riders as well as our employees. So I think it is good news as sort of a practical and sensible approach.
What Mr. McFarland fails to mention, and of course he's not going to mention it, is how they lied to us, especially the retirees. I mean, the employees have more money, they're still working, you can still get plenty of overtime, all of that over there. But all of us that are out here, we're eating the big one, okay? And we were lied to by Trimet and the people before Neil and all the board of directors before this board. We were lied to, and that's what he should be saying to them.
To the current place that we find ourselves. Clearly this has been a long road, a hard road for both parties, but I think at the end of the day we have a very good result. And hopefully it will also begin to allow us to set a more positive and engaged tone for the future in terms of our relationship with Local 757. And I want to particularly thank the members of our negotiating team led by Randy and of course Claire up here is the financial analyst who has to do the hard work of actually finding out what the ideas mean when it comes to actual money. But I also want to thank the members of the negotiating team of Local 757, and particularly President Bruce Hanson for his guidance and work as we went through this whole process. With that, I'll turn it over to Randy to go through some of the key provisions of this agreement, and then obviously with help of Claire, what does that mean for us financially? So if I may turn it to them.
Good morning. Good morning. Claire and I are pleased to be here on behalf of the entire bargaining team to both recommend the tentative agreement that was reached between Trimet and the ATU on September 30th, together with prior agreements on October 24th, 2013 and June 24th, 2014, which together wrap up and resolve all of the outstanding issues between the parties. So we wanted to go through with you some of the key elements of the tentative agreement that was reached. Obviously, in a 160 or so page document, there are some minor issues that we won't cover, but the key issues that were resolved as part of the tentative agreement are contained in this presentation. The first item is the term of the agreement, which is a 4-year agreement that begins December 1st, 2012 and would end on November 30th, 2016. That's compared to the status quo agreement, which was a 3-year agreement. The term of agreements in the past have varied. The prior agreement before the contract imposed by arbitrator Gaba was a 6-year agreement. So this is a 4-year agreement that ends in 2016. Wages.
I made that comment on one of the Facebook people. I think it was Jeff Hackerson. Oh, by the way, I've lost a lot of union friends as a result of my anti-contract stance. That's neither here nor there. But the comment I made was, if this contract really was of any value, it should have a little bit more time to it than just next year. It should have been a 6-year contract. It might have had a little bit more staying power. The way that it's just going to be one more year after this, it was a little worrisome to me, because they'll be right back at this problem again next year. A 6-year term would have been more genuine.
These are, of course, a key component of the agreement. The wage increases are negotiated wage rates, contrasted with the prior contract, which had cost of living increases between a minimum of 3% and 5%.
You did hear that. This is the proof that the Trimet operators actually gave up raises, because the last contract gave you a guaranteed raise somewhere between 3 and 5% a year, or otherwise known as COLA. This contract doesn't do that. They eliminated the 3% raises you should have got 2 years prior, and they're going to give you one now and one next year. There's no guarantee you're going to get anything after that. The managers themselves, the executives, just gave themselves a 3% raise, and it's no coincidence that the 3% happens to match their raises.
Increases will be 0% for December 1st, 2012, 0% for the 13, and then 3% increases on December 1st, 2014 and 15. In addition to those general wage increases, there is a special increase upon ratification of the agreement by both parties of $1 per hour for journey workers. There are approximately 345 journey workers, and then there's a flow-through for those assistant supervisors whose compensation is measured by the journey worker rate. It's 115% of the journey worker rate, so those would be affected by that $1 an hour increase for the journey workers as well. Active employee health care is a key feature of this tentative agreement. And a number of things are happening. The major thing that is happening is that we, along with the ATU, agreed that the core plan would be the 80-20 plan with regents, contrasted with the current 90-10 plan. And
it needs to be said that that's what McFarland wanted all along. I don't know why Bruce and his cohorts decided to wait till now. I mean, if they're going to cave in on this, why didn't they do it 2 years ago? What are you waiting at till now? I mean, why do we have all that fighting going on to just end up back where McFarland wanted it in the first place? I mean, you could have just brought this to the members back then. I don't understand the thinking here.
That there would be a 5% premium contribution to employees, contrasted with the 0% premium contribution in the current contract. But in addition to that, we're substantially increasing choice for employees. So our contract.
That's false. Yeah, they did allow you to. They did keep the 90-10 if you want to pay for it yourself, and then they had that other thing where they put $800 into some kind of an account. They increased choice at the expense of the employee. So the notion that somehow we increased your choice so that you have more options is bullshit, because they pay the same amount. You get the option to pay more, or you get the option to get less. Those are the three options.
Contribution to all of the PPO plans is measured by 95% of the 80-20 Regents plan. Employees can choose, however, if they want to keep the current 90-10 plan, they can pay the difference between 95% of the 80-20 plan and the cost of the premium for the 90-10 plan. So that's their option. They have a third option, and that is for choice of a high deductible plan with a health savings account. So Trimet's contribution in that case, because the high deductible plan's premium is less than 95% of the 80-20 plan, they would have a 0% premium contribution, and the balance of Trimet's contribution would go into a health savings account plan. So 3 PPO plans, all of which are measured by the 80-20 plan and 95% contribution to that plan by Trimet. In addition, we're retaining the Kaiser plan. but moving to the $10 copay plan instead of the $5 copay plan, and also
even the poor people that already have to struggle through with Kaiser got screwed here. They couldn't even leave them alone. I mean, they're already saving the company substantial money by belonging to Kaiser. And, you know, if you belong to Kaiser, you got to go to their facility. And if you have a specialized problem, you might have to go to some other facility way out in Timbuktu. You can't get anybody local around your house like I do here in Northwest Portland. So the Kaiser people already suffer, but they couldn't even leave them alone. They even are making them go from $5 to $10. Like that $5 is that big of a deal.
a 5% contribution toward premium by employees in that plan. On the dental plan, we have increased the benefit to union members by implementing the non-union MOTA plan, which will essentially double the benefit, and we are
That's one actual improvement. Previously, we only had $1,000 a year dental. You know, $1,000 will buy you what? Does it buy you a crown anymore? I don't think it buys you even a crown. We had $1,000 a year coverage, and now they've doubled to $2,000, which is better than nothing, but not much.
replacing the Willamette plan that we did offer with a Kaiser plan that many union members had requested because about half of our employees are enrolled in the Kaiser medical plan. So the combination of the MOTA plan is more expensive, the Kaiser plan is less expensive than Willamette, and we think on balance that is a balancing of costs, again, with a 5% contribution to those plans by employees. I've talked about the premium contribution of 5% and how that would work. For part-time operators, for the first time, they will have the same plan design as full-time employees and the same contribution of 5%. In the prior contract, the individual employee paid 0%, but their dependents paid 25%. So this is an enhancement of benefit for the part-time employees. In addition to this, we are making a one-time distribution to ATU members of $425,000 of the $5.5 million in costs that were passed on to employees pursuant to ORS 243756 during the last 2 years. Early in the negotiations, we noted to the ATU that our ask of a 6% at that time premium contribution was actually less than, in many cases, that the costs that were being passed on during the period of time that the contract was being negotiated. As we got down to reaching a tentative agreement, we were looking for ways to bridge the gap, and we again re-offered that we would refund to those employees who had paid during the last 2 years more than 6%, refund the difference, and that turned out to be about $425,000. The ATU will give us instructions as how to disperse that money among their members.
I don't really understand that at all. Who gets what? It's $500,000 to be distributed amongst all of us that have been paying for the Blue Cross, I take it. I mean, they're not very clear about it, but I would imagine everybody that's been paying for the Blue Cross is entitled to some of that money. He's not talking about the ULPs that were from 2009, 2010. That's in the contract itself, but he's not talking about it at this meeting for whatever reason. But all that money is supposed to come back to us too now. We're going to have to make sure everybody that's eligible for this money, you're going to have to make sure that you get your proper share. So keep track of this, and if it's not right, do a public records request, get all your time slip information, all your pay slip information, I mean, from Trimet. They have it all there for all the years you've been there, and do a comparison about from what you pay to what you're getting back.
For retiree health care, again, there's a significant increase in choice. You'll recall that our promise to the pre-65 retirees is that they will have active health care, and for these folks that are post-65, our promise is that combined with Medicare, Medicare Part B that's paid by the district, and the supplemental health care plan also paid by the district, that will be the same coverage as our active employees have. Now they'll be able to choose between having that supplemental plan. They'll still have the Medicare Part B paid by the district, and a choice now of having the supplemental plan or having that as a stipend that's put into a retiree health reimbursement account. So there's choice there that they'll have that they didn't have before.
That's more or less also the same as the choice that I referred to earlier. It's an illusion of choice. You get a choice to pay more or get less. That's your choice. Pay more or get less. Although he's presenting it as something good, it's actually something bad.
And also in 2016, we'll be implementing an 80-20 supplemental plan that has the same sort of coverage when combined with Medicare and Medicare Part B, but it'll be a PPO plan and have a lesser premium cost. So there's some savings for equivalent coverage that they would have otherwise. One of the big changes is for hires that are made on the day following ratification of the agreement, and that is that the new hires, when they retire, so some 10 or more years out, they will have a choice of receiving, they'll have an $800 a month stipend, and that with that stipend they can have a choice to purchase coverage through our plan or to have that stipend put in a retiree health reimbursement account.
So for everybody that's hired as of now, or as when it's ratified, I guess, they're not abandoning you completely with your health care. They're going to give you $800 a month to whatever you can buy. And as you see, the rates are like $1,600, $1,400. By the time they retire, it'll be even more. So Trimet's effectively, there is your 50%. That's it. Okay, this is the 50% cut in OPEB right there, because right now Trimet was paying $1,600 a month for my and my spouse coverage, and they were supposedly responsible for 100% of that, even though I've been paying for it for the last 5 years. It was supposed to be 100% coverage, not how it translated. But when this new contract is approved, all the new hires, and Trimet hires 100 new bus drivers a year, will only get $800 a month paid toward their health care when they retire, which is, as of today, 50% of what the Trimet organization is paying for health care. So that achieves their goal. I'm surprised they're paying anything. Of course, they don't want to be the only governmental agency that gives their employees nothing. I mean, they're headed that way, but it doesn't look like they're going to do that yet.
And that will increase, that stipend will increase by CPI each year, as will the stipend for pre-65s. But once they reach age 65, they'll no longer have any health coverage through Trimet. There's also the elimination of a side letter in our agreement in 2003 when Kaiser made unilateral changes to the health care plan. Trimet made up the difference in cost, and that letter will be eliminated for the contract. So those folks will have the Kaiser plan that's in effect and the coverage associated with that plan. Another key feature of this tentative agreement is, for the first time, the district having the discretion to hire from outside to fill maintenance positions.
That's a huge concession by the union, allowing them to hire from outside. Huge. That's one of the biggest concessions they made, really, is allowing that to happen.
So the district will have the discretion to hire up to 1/2 of each of the apprentice programs from outside the district, and will have the discretion to hire up to 5 journey workers annually from outside the district. There's some additional miscellaneous provisions that were agreed to as part of the tentative agreement. There are 3 funds, the EAP program, the Recreation Trust Fund program, and the Child Elder Assistance program, that have been a source of controversy. I think we've worked out that controversy in this contract. For the balance of this contract, if ratified, the EAP program, we will continue to make $55,000 a year annual payments to an EAP program that is administered by the ATU outside of our program. However, Trimet has, for the non-union employees, an EAP program that actually provides better benefits than does the ATU program. At the end of this contract and during the hiatus period and going forward, ATU members will be part of the regular Trimet EAP program. Of course, this is a mandatory subject to bargaining, so that could be on the table, but at least during the hiatus period, they will be under the regular Trimet program, and we will not pay that $55,000. For the Recreation Trust Fund, we will continue for the balance of this contract, if ratified, pay $55,000, but thereafter the recreation monies will be budgeted as part of Trimet's general fund budget. And for the Child and Elder Care Assistance Program, we would pay $55,000 annually, but only if the fund is less than $100,000 as of the date it's due. There were some significant streamlining of the grievance process. As you know, we have in the past experienced a large number of grievances. In 2010 and 11, that amounted to about 250 grievances a year. Those were substantially reduced with changes in the last contract to an average about 150 or so grievances a year. With this streamlining, we are eliminating the pre-filing, which was an informal step, and the Step 3 panel, and also agreeing to rotate the grievance arbitration panel more frequently than is done in the past. In the prior contract, that panel was in place for the term of the contract, and now we'll rotate that panel at the request of either party every 14 months. Labor management meetings, we have adjusted the labor management meeting construct in the contract so that the parties will meet at any time on any matter of mutual interest to solve problems of mutual interest, rather than having perfunctory committees that specify who attends and how often they'll meet. Now we'll have meetings as is required and ensure that the subject matters from both sides of the table are present in those meetings. We did expand the funeral leave provision to include memorial leaves and expand the number of days from 3 to 4, but those days need to be taken within 120 days of reasonably being notified of the passing of the loved one. So that's an expansion of that benefit. The hours of service, which was a labor management agreed MOU, is now incorporated into the contract. There's no change on that from what the board is already aware of that change for hours of service. We've included a provision for fair inspector training of up to 8 hours annually for diffusing and responding to hostile confrontations. That's a new provision in the contract. And we've made some additional provisions for allowances for uniforms and coats, increasing the uniform allowance to $315 from $215.
That's kind of interesting that they've increased the uniform allowance by $100 an employee. That's fairly significant, actually. 1,000 employees, $100 an employee. That's $100,000 they've increased for uniforms. I wonder what the hell they're thinking there. I never could spend all my, I never. You can only buy so many pants, shirts, sweaters with Trimet logos on them. So I'm not sure what they're thinking there, but more power to the employees. You can go get extra shoes.
I'm very pleased to say that this tentative agreement includes the settlement of a number of outstanding pieces of litigation, including 4 ULPs, 2 by Trimet and 2 by the ATU, along with 2 Court of Appeals cases that are now pending with the Oregon Court of Appeals. Those will all be resolved as part of this tentative agreement if ratified. by the parties. I wanted to just give you a short example of what is happening to the total premium costs associated with the healthcare plans under this tentative agreement. In that 2014 column, those are the current plans and rates. So just looking at the first row for Regents single employee as an example, the current premium, total premium, is $834. Because of a decline in utilization the past 2 years, over 5% this last year and 3% the prior year, even under the 90-10 plan, as employees have become more informed consumers of health care due to paying some of the out-of-pocket costs and the passed-on costs under the statute, the utilization has dropped quite dramatically, and the premiums are dropping for 2015 for that plan from $834 to $791 a month. But you can also...
We've talked about this before over here. He's trying to make this conclusion that somehow by raising the costs that people are using it less. And I, for the one, don't believe it. I mean, I don't know anybody that just went to the doctor because it was, oh, I have good coverage, I think I'll go see my doctor today. I don't know anybody that wants to go to the doctor, eat good coverage or bad coverage. Nobody in their right mind, unless they're a hypochondriac, wants to go to the goddamn doctor. So I don't believe this. He keeps saying there's some cause and effect there, but I don't believe it.
So see, with the 80-20 plan, the premium cost is lower still at $745. And then the high deductible plan with the HSA that we're implementing, if this contract is ratified, has a premium cost of $599. And then in the far right-hand column, the contribution that Trimet would make to the HSA accounts is $108. And so on down the line for Regents. Kaiser, the $5 copay for 2014 is $660. The $10 copay is slightly more. Unlike the Regents plan, where we implemented a 90-10 plan and I think had more informed consumers of health care, the Kaiser rates have still gone up a bit, relatively speaking, although also compared to Regents, it is a better bargain overall still. For dental, as I mentioned, for MOTA, we're increasing the plan from a benefit of $1,000 to $2,000. The premium, of course, is higher for that sort of benefit, so that's going up. But the Kaiser plan at $36 a month is less than what the Willamette rate was. So again, on balance, I think we've got those costs at balance, and with a 5% contribution by employees. So with that being the elements, those translate into financial effects and impacts for the district going forward, and Claire is here to talk about.
So there you have it. There's Randy Fatboy Stedmen. Sorry, Randy. It's just business. Talking about his great victory over the union. I'm sure Randy is very proud, and so is his boss, Neil. And as I said before, you've got to hand it to them for pulling it off. I give them nothing but credit. As an observer of events and somebody who appreciates a certain degree of brilliance is required to con everybody about these things. In reality, I could accept this deal. I think it's probably inevitable anyway. I think the union's probably right when they're saying we're going to lose an arbitration. I don't think the union has the brains. I'm not trying not to be disrespectful. I don't think the union people have the brains to present a arbitration argument that would be better than I think that the Trimet people just have the union. They're not in the same class, you know. You're talking about a highly educated, a highly professional bunch of people at Trimet and against a bunch of bus drivers who run the union. I'm not saying that in a derogatory term, but I'm just stating the reality of the situation. I think that Ron Heinzman and John Hunt would have been better at this. And, you know, I'll say this right out. I voted for Bruce. I supported Bruce. I'm sure I helped put him in. But I don't think Bruce was up to the job here. Now that this is coming to an end, I think that Ron might have been the man. And John, I know that John Hunt was a much more dynamic leader than Bruce is, and I think that Ron, for all his charges of cronyism and all of that, the Ron Heinzman machine. Ron Heinzman, this is the former president of the International, okay? When it comes to negotiations, I think we might have been better off with Ron.
I inherited an agency that I think is inspired by a Dickens novel. I call it A Tale of Two Trimets. One is a tale of a world-renowned transit system with roots stretching back to the 1970s with the original transit mall. It's an agency that's an innovator in design and construction and delivering light rail projects on time and on budget, engaging local businesses and creating jobs. It's a leader in customer information, like Transit Tracker by phone, by internet, by text, with real-time arrival information. Now, recall my story of the tale of two Trimets. Let me tell you now a little bit about that second Trimet tale. That of an agency that is slowly strangling from a union contract that desperately needs a reset. Now, I know we live in a blue state, and I'm in a pro-union city. I'm the son of a union machinist. I worked my way through college as a union retail clerk. So I know that what I'm about to say might make some of you just a little bit uncomfortable, and I apologize for that. But decisions have been made over the last 30 years that have gotten us to a place where Trimet union members have arguably the richest health care benefits in the United States.